Today, the power, the influence, capabilities of Taiwan are no longer questioned, but there's still many things that are the same. Innovative sprint cycle that you see in Taiwan, this dramatic competitiveness. Can have an idea at breakfast, a prototype at lunch, and manufacturing by dinner. It just goes fast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Business Next podcast. I'm John Wang, the editor-in-chief. We are honored to have two special guests with us today. Pat Gelsinger, the general partner of Playground Global and former CEO of Intel, and also Mark Wade, the co-founder and the CEO of Ayar Labs. So, good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
So you have both been to Taiwan many times, right? Like Pat, 50 times over the past, I'm sure, 40 years, right? Yeah. And Mark, the 10th trip to Taiwan this year.
Yes.
And we met, including today, the third time.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's the key message you bring to Taiwan this time?
You know, we're launching a number of our companies. We announced 2 new companies that have been in stealth. So we're using this trip to bring them out to the market. And we like that because both of those companies that we're announcing have enormous relationship with Taiwan. We announced Power Lattice, voltage regulation, power conversion technology. We announced Picojoule, a critical short-range optical VCSEL technology to help the copper to optical. But the bigger message is Taiwan is the hub of innovation for the entire technology supply chains of the world. So Playground is a deep tech company, and our portfolio companies, they need to be in with and partnered with Taiwan. And for that, it's a great pleasure to be able to have this event here today.
Yeah, and you brought 7 startups and make a strong statement in Taiwan to work with the local ecosystem here. So, but Pat, I think people are interested in your new role and also your previous role, the CEO of Intel. So, what's the difference of being a CEO and helping CEOs of startups? So.
Yeah, well, and obviously today we announced that I'm joining the board of Ayar Labs as well. So now I work more closely with a number of CEOs, but when I'm the CEO, I'm in charge. Right? When I'm the advisor, when I'm the board member for these companies, I'm not in charge, right? They're in charge. And that adjustment, I have to adjust to that. I want to get things done my way, and now I have to influence and help them, but also using my experiences, the network that I have in the industry, the technical perspectives that I have to help them be more successful more rapidly. And I get to do it across more companies. And with that, that's exciting. I get to work with Mark, today, tomorrow I might be working with vertical semi or power conversion company. I might be working with X-Lite, and it gives me the opportunity to be involved in more things through these incredible leaders. We're here to build great companies that will be led by great CEOs, and I think I can help that to occur.
Okay, and you know Taiwan quite well over the past 40 years of dealing with Taiwanese partners. So you also mentioned that 41 years ago you were on the same stage with Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel in Taiwan, to bring the key message then to the local partners. So how would you compare that 40 years ago and today about the ecosystem here in Taiwan?
Yeah, one piece that's so different is then you were tiny, now you're big. Right? Then the idea that Taiwan was going to play the central role in the technology ecosystem was aspirational at best, right? Tiny, there weren't these big powerhouse companies. It was still very nascent at the time. Today, the power, the influence, the capabilities of Taiwan are no longer questioned, but there's still many things that are the same. Right? This innovative sprint cycle that you see in Taiwan, this dramatic competitiveness, right? How, the other companies, they like each other, they work together, but they compete with each other very rapidly. And as I say, you can have an idea at breakfast, a prototype at lunch and manufacturing by dinner. It just goes fast, right? When you're here, right, there's not a lot of time for debate. The speed of execution, I believe, is unrivaled anywhere on the planet.
Right. So, except for the long-term executive view, I'd like to get some from the freshman's view of Taiwan too. So, what do you think about that market? Because we met first time in Bay Area in January.
Yes.
The second time, remember, before Computex in May. And this is the third time. So you come very frequently, 10 trips a year. So I'm not sure if there's going to be the 11th or 12th by the end of the year. So what's your take on Taiwan?
Yeah, so one, I'd echo a lot of what Pat said, but for Ayar Labs, the way we view Taiwan is that all the pieces that build the hardware of the semiconductor industry are in Taiwan. So the advanced foundry at TSMC, the post-foundry ecosystem, meaning advanced packaging, test, and the OSAT capabilities that are here, and all the way through rack scale design and rack scale manufacturing. So I think for us, where we're trying to enable a new optical capability into computing products and solutions, those solutions are built here in Taiwan. So it's very important for us to come collaborate, work deeply. You mentioned we opened our office in Hsinchu earlier this year. And commit to our partners and collaborations throughout the entire country. For us, it's just about saying we have to be in the ecosystem where the advanced semiconductor hardware technologies are being built, because at the end of the day, we're a deep tech hardware solution that intercepts at that level of the product.
How many employees in that office now?
Yeah, the office is still fairly small right now. Let's call it around 5 to 10. And we're going to be growing it over the next 12 to 18 months up to around 20 people or so. It's both having a presence here in Taiwan with employees in our Taiwan entity, but also we're facilitating a lot of interaction and collaboration with our engineers in the Bay Area. We just had a team of our engineers here last week working closely with our partners in the supply chain and working to help them get ready to build these new co-packaged optical solutions and teaching them how to handle optics, what they need to change and what they're doing, where we need to co-develop and co-engineer certain solutions. So we view it as we're going to be here to stay. We're going to work deeply with our partners. And we're going to grow the office in Hsinchu to, let's say, around 20 people, but also have it as an efficient collaboration between our engineers in the Bay Area and our presence here in Taiwan.
Okay. And I remember during my January visit to your office in Bay Area that your presentation, there's one slide dedicated to the local partners here in Taiwan. It's about a dozen companies. I'm not sure if the list has grown to a lot more.
Yeah, so look, like I said, and I'll show, this is one of the solutions that we've shown publicly, and what it is it's an advanced package reference design that shows optical connectivity in the package, and it combines advanced process node capabilities from TSMC, advanced packaging, multi-chip integration into that interposer, and then a large advanced substrate that integrates optical engines that are also built in, from TSMC and integrated with partnerships throughout Taiwan. So yes, the list is growing, and we're deeply engaged from foundry to OSAT to partnering with optical connector companies to assemble the optical connection to these chips, and all the way through to the back end rack scale designers and manufacturers. Because we think that optical connectivity, such as what we're showing here, once we bring it to volume production, it's also going to transform the physical infrastructure at the server scale and the rack scale. So I think the list has probably grown a bit since you've seen it in
like 2 dozen, perhaps.
Maybe 2 dozen is about where it's at now.
And I have talked about this cycle of conversion from copper to optical for over 2 decades. Right? I'll say eventually I'll be right. Right? It's going to tip over. AI has put such pressure on the communications, the bandwidth, the total number of connections, the amount of power that's going into the I/O functions, and all of those things together have created, I'll say, this crushing demand for that conversion. I quip that the NVL72 from NVIDIA is a engineering marvel, a manufacturing nightmare, right? With all of the coax and the copper, so on, and it's forcing this condensing, this bringing together of more thermal density, right? Well, when you go to optical, you can spread it out. The thermal problems become easier. The bandwidth problems become much higher performant. You're able to do so inside of today's thermal envelopes that are available. And when you move to very high, thermal capacity racks, they become less efficient, right? And thermal efficiency is the fundamental limiter of AI capacity today.
Right. So one of the four area that Playground Global addresses is the next generation computing. So what's your vision for that? And by investing in this deep tech, so how far are we going to see all these idea being commercialized?
Yeah. Well, at the highest level, I've described it as the trinity of computing, right? And, I like that notion, classical computing, where I've spent most of my time in career. AI computing, more of the last decade, and seeing the rise of that now become very powerful. And then quantum, and these three different forms of computational capacity coming together to literally make almost every problem that we can express mathematically today will now become computable. Right, and at that level, we will go from the dartboard of chemistry, or the random walk of material science, or the intuition of chemistry, and be able to simulate everything, right? And the amount of new breakthroughs that will be enabled by that will be stunning. And we think this idea of the trinity of computing is just a couple of years away, right? Where we'll be able to combine those together. But they will also have some common underpinnings. Our quantum computing is working with photons, which essentially are different, light and optical connections. So it will increasingly be based not on copper, but on optical. Increasingly, we will be using cryogenic computing as the efficiencies that it brings for many of the need for quantum effects, but also the efficiencies of superconducting and the ability to have both computation and communications happening at superconducting temperatures as well. So, we see this rebuilding of the entire computing stack around that theme of the trinity of computing. And for that, innovation isn't nearing its end, it's nearing its beginning.
Okay. And the other three area is automation, energy transition, also engineered biology.
Yeah.
So why all in the hardware and device manufacturing as opposed to software?
Yeah, and we have software companies. So I do want to say we have a number of breakthrough software.
But the main focus is still on the
and the software companies are largely saying when we've accomplished those hardware breakthroughs, what are the new software breakthroughs that they enable? Right. So our software company, Phasecraft, assumes quantum computing. It doesn't care which approach to qubits is being followed, but it assumes that it can now program in quantum space, right? And with that, we're quite excited about some of the breakthroughs that they're now being able to realize, even with today's limited quantum computing machines that are available today. We believe that we're near the end of the scalability of today's transformer models. So we have some software assets that are saying what is beyond transformer for the next generation of AI models, for the future. But we're mostly in hardware, and we like hardware, right? And today over 90% of Silicon Valley venture is software. We are over 80% hardware. We're the other venture company in that sense, and I think that's going to be well rewarded over the coming decades because we don't need another software app, we don't need another dating app, right? We need to solve these hard problems of science, and if those are solved, we will change everything. You know, the energy portfolio, we have some pretty exciting companies there, the automation, robotics companies, and we do think that some of our bioengineering portfolio companies are resulting breakthrough. We just had, a major announcement with one of them just last week, on some of the ways that they do in vivo drug discovery, crossing the blood-brain barrier. These are just some of the things that we will be able to realize in the next decade or two. It's a thrilling time to be a technologist, a thrilling time to be a venture capitalist in deep tech.
And any LP so far from Taiwan or a Taiwanese company in America? Limited partner for
so we have limited partners here in Taiwan. I mentioned the unique relationship that we've had with Foxconn for many years. Beyond that, we don't speak to the specifics of our LPs more generally, but part of our trip as well is to build more LP relationships with Taiwanese funds, families, and companies as well. But Foxconn has been a very unique place in the Playground family.
And there are also famous venture capital firms in Silicon Valley like Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, and A16Z as well, a whole bunch on the Sam Hill Road. So what are the unique value and strength that Playground Global bring to the table for the startups?
And, as I say, many of those are very focused now on software. And some of those assets where we've remained very focused
on the hardware,
on the hard
80%.
And the hard tech. And some of them are saying, maybe we've gotten too focused in those areas, and can we rebuild some of our muscles in the hard and hardware? Because remember, venture capital in Silicon Valley started all hard and hard tech. So we've seen that, I'll say, shift over time, and we think we're at the right place at the right time.
And I think your combination is a very interesting one because now in the optical I/O field, CPO, the co-packaging optics, is growing very fast. You bring the silicon chip background, and Mark certainly is an expert in optical. So I'm wondering how you two exchange ideas, and when you sit at the board, any advice you gave them so far?
Well, certainly some of the main things that we've been discussing are how do we, bring this technology into the main streams of innovation of the major companies in the industry. And I think that's been, the unique thing that I've been engaging with Mark so far, because, these ideas have been around for a couple of decades. How do we bring them to mainstream deployment? And if we pull that off in the next couple of years, Mark and Ayar Labs are going to be seen as one of the extraordinary companies of our day.
Yeah, and I can comment. For the last several years, I'd say we were working on making sure we got the core technology on a really strong footing. And we accomplished that, I'd say, in the last 2-3 years. We started shipping tens of thousands of engineering samples, but the products that we're trying to intercept are the highest performing, bleeding edge of technology, highest volume products that are driving the compute underneath AI. So we got it to a point to where the technology is proven. We're shipping engineering samples in the tens of thousands, but we're trying to intercept the tens to hundreds of millions, maybe billion unit per year as we go forward towards the end of the decade. And so from my perspective, my goal has been to, as a founder, my goal has been to bring the best possible people into the company at all levels, investors, the board of directors, throughout the entire company, and bring people in who I can learn from and who have been down the path before. So it's just incredibly exciting from my perspective to have someone like Pat joining us at this moment at the board to lean in and help drive not just from technology innovation, but into mass production and high volume deployment. So, and it's been great working with Pat throughout this year. And the other thing I'd say about Playground is Playground was one of our earliest investors all the way back to 2018. So I can speak to, I experienced as a first-time founder coming out of my graduate research, going and trying to raise money in Silicon Valley. The majority of Silicon Valley venture capitalists really have no idea how to think about hardware and semiconductors. And what was so exciting getting connected to Playground was that they were building a thesis that was deep tech oriented, hardware-oriented, semiconductor-oriented, and that was hugely differentiated and still is differentiated compared to the other Silicon Valley investors that I've had the pleasure of interacting with.
Right, congratulations for having a great teacher. So in your presentation earlier this morning that you also mentioned the cooperation with Airchip and GUC,
yes.
Both are from Taiwan, in addition to TSMC, ASE, and all other partners. So how does this case go?
Yeah, so the way to think about it is we're working very closely with TSMC to bring co-packaged optical solutions through the advanced foundry capabilities at TSMC, both the advanced process nodes, also a new photonics capability being manufactured at TSMC, but it has to get combined into an advanced package. The optical engine is one of these, we call it a chiplet, so one of these chiplets in a package that has 20 to 30 chiplets. And so this advanced package combined with the advanced node, process node technologies is why it's so powerful to work closely with TSMC in Taiwan. Now, and you're right, we just announced our partnership with GUC, and that's in addition to the great work that we're doing with Alchip. And these are value chain alliance partners that are in the kind of ecosystem of TSMC, and they help us build full solutions that end customers can look to adopt more easily. And so we work very closely with them on the package design, the integration, the manufacturing process, and it helps customers take all the great technologies and capabilities from TSMC, but piece together a full solution that they can adopt in their product lines. So that's just two examples that we've announced publicly, and there's a lot more going on behind the scenes as we look to bring multiple ways that high volume customers trying to build the highest performing AI accelerators and GPUs can adopt this into their volume roadmaps.
Yeah, I remember the first few partners you basically through writing email, right? But this time, like for Airchip or the GUC, is that through partner referral or you knock on their door yourself?
Oh, I'd say it's I won't comment on too much of the specifics, but Alchip and GUC have built great capabilities in being able to integrate and offer ASIC services to their end customers, hyperscalers, people building accelerators, and so certainly the relationship that we have with Alchip and GUC is based on the strength of the position that they have established in the Taiwan ecosystem and being able to build products that customers can trust are going to be high quality, high performing, and high volume based on TSMC technologies.
Part of this visit is to essentially, I'll say, create a lot of speed dating, right? Bring more of our companies, more of the industry.
But not blind dating, certainly.
No,
speed dating, right?
Yes, but with that, it's just how do we increase the bandwidth of those relationships? Some of the LP discussions we've had is, how do we increase Taiwan's presence in Silicon Valley? We're a very unique firm, right? When you come and visit the playground, we have 30 plus companies in the warehouse. That's this innovative, bubbling cauldron of ideas there. We want some of those LPs to be present right in the playground, right? So that they're experiencing and increasing their bandwidth into Silicon Valley, just like today we're bringing more of our bandwidth to Taiwan.
Yeah, 40 years ago, there are a lot of companies, young companies who are very eager to work with Silicon Valley companies. But at that time, the technology might not be ready, but they're hungry, right? So started from this OEM, then ODM model. But along the way, now it's become like a technology partner that co-develop things together, not just subcontractors. Yeah. So is that kind of new way or new model being developed between the ties, between Silicon Valley and Taiwan, that, according to your observation?
I do think that many of those same things that have emerged between the larger OEMs, the larger branded players, and the ODMs, haven't yet been well systematized with the startup community. And I do think that's something that we will be able to help better formalize how that works for our portfolio companies. I do think that'll be, a new pillar, if you could, of the brand value that Playground brings, because we'll be the most connected into it. We'll give you capital, we'll give you this place to innovate, we will, help you in all of these other domains, but one of them will become, we're the best connected to the supply chains, to the manufacturing partners, and to the other sources of innovation in the industry, and particularly that will be here in Taiwan.
Right. And when you were the CEO of Intel, you expressed your concern in public about the geopolitical tension between Taiwan and China. Now being a venture partner that bring the startups to Taiwan, so does that still bother you about the geopolitical tension?
Well, as I'll say, as a senior technology leader in the United States, the world needs more resilient supply chains. It was true then; it's true today, right? For that, and thus some of the conversations, on U.S. policy and reshoring of manufacturing. Hey, I think those things are still important, today. But to me, it's less about reshoring and it's more about growing in the U.S. even as Taiwan continues to grow. Taiwan has energy limitations. Taiwan, has scale and talent limitations. It's very limited in its further expansion. So I think it's good policy for Taiwan, good policy for the U.S. From the venture capitalist perspective, this is less of a concern, right? Because our companies aren't yet at the level and significance of their scale that these are particularly the issues. We're much more focused on supply chain formation and speed of execution. That's the center of our issue. Scale of manufacturing isn't yet at the center of our concerns. Now, over time, I do hope that, many of these portfolio companies are scaling to the point that is a fundamental issue, but it's less so in the venture capital space.
Final question before I let you go, that your partner Peter mentioned about this is the 60th year when Gordon Moore published his article later on being called the Moore's Law. So you have the luxury of working with the three legends, in Intel, Bob Noyce, Gordon Moore, and Andrew Grove. So anything you remember most about these three legends?
Well, we could be here for 4 more hours of interviewing associated with it. But I always, Robert, I think he only came to Taiwan. He didn't travel as much. He wasn't as visible as Andy or Gordon. But he had the famous, go out and do something wonderful. Right, was one of those phrases. And I remember when I was here in Taiwan with Robert, that idea that you truly could do wonderful things in Taiwan, and the speed of execution. And Noyce hated bureaucracy. Right? Even though he even went into the government role of driving Sematech, I was always, why are you doing that, Bob? If you're, but this idea of just unfettered speed of innovative, creative ideas, he loved Taiwan in that respect, and I do think that to me remains one of the unique hallmarks of Taiwan. We're just going to innovate, right? I don't know if it's possible or not, but we're going to try it, right? And that would be the spirit of Robert Noyce, alive and well today.
And I remember you asked Eva and his wife about why he's always so harsh on you, and she told you because he loved you. Right?
That's right. It's just, he loves you. A lot. Right? So maybe I don't want him to love me so much, right?
Is that going to be the feeling you're going to show to this startup?
Well, let me say, my CEOs will know my affection, but they will also know where I think they can do better.
Okay.
Right? And I think that's one of the great things about Andy. Maybe I'll do it with a little bit less harshness. Andy could be pretty harsh. I joked that mentoring with Andy Grove was like going to the dentist and not having Novocaine, right? It was tough, blunt, hard. I don't think sometimes you need to be quite as tough or hard, but to me, right, the raw transparency of expectations, of data, of insights, I don't want any of the CEOs ever to be in a situation where they're not sure of the value that I would hope that I'm able to bring to them. And for that, blunt, direct conversations is often the best way.
Okay. And for Mark, the plan to ship products in 2028 remain on schedule?
Yes. So we're executing.
Mark, go faster.
Yeah. I know. This is the good feedback from Pat. We're executing very quickly, and I'd say my experience in Taiwan has been you can build wonderful things here. I love that quote, and the speed at which we're executing with our partners is really exhilarating. And so we're on track to deliver this capability into volume products in the 28 timeframe. For us, building the optical engines and the co-packaged optical solution, middle of 27 is a key year for us to get the optical engine piece of it ready so that it's ready to integrate into these kinds of platforms throughout 2028. And we're on track and very excited about the work that we're doing with our lead customers and some of the AI accelerator customers that we're working with going into hyperscalers. So yes, we're on track. A lot of work. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Very good.
Don't have to wait for another 23 years. Thank you.